All right. Welcome, welcome. Today we're going to talk about transgender athletes and inclusion competition with a class activity that you can follow along this video and or use it independently. So it'll be used for both, either independent or in your class. If you're using it in the class, I'll tell you pause here and then do the activity with the students in the class. Okay, so the goal for this activity isn't to arrive at the perfect answer or the correct answer. It's about developing a deeper understanding for the values that and considerations that are at stake. Not just this issue, I'd say pushing beyond the issue. What are you going to need? Pencil and paper, because you are going to be writing things down. No Chromebooks needed, no technologies needed, so those can be put away if you're in the classroom. If you're watching on video, of course, you need a computer to watch. How's this lesson going to be formed? We're going to start off with a personal dive into your values, and then we're going to end at your personal values as well. But in between, number 2, I'm going to give you a character card. And this may be somebody, probably will be to somebody different than yourselves and maybe holds different values than yourself. And you are going then to meet up into a group and be that character as you are discussing in this group, a policy that will have way to have transgender participate in sports. Then you'll share with your class what your group has discussed, and maybe if you've gotten to the policy down and or a newspaper headline down, you can share that with the class as well. And then at the end, they said you will be asked to sign a poster that shares a headline that you would agree with personally. So like I said, personal, then your character and discussion and sharing with the class, and then go back to your seats and share your personal as well to validate that. All right, let's start. What does fairness in sports medicine mean? This is where you're going to write down with that pencil and pen or paper. How would you answer this? And while you do that, I'm going to pass out the character cards in class. If you're doing this on video and you need to pass out to class, pause here. If not, you can just continue. All right, thanks so much for doing that. What does fairness in sports mean? Oh, here's some ideas, right? Equal opportunity. Fairness might be ensuring everyone has a chance to participate in sports, regardless of gender identity. Their perspective prioritizes inclusion and the psychological well-being of all athletes, recognizing sports as a fundamental human activity that should be accessible to everyone. Right, so this is one perspective we can look at it. Another one focuses on biology, right? Others view fairness as maintaining physical parity between competitors. This perspective focuses on biological factors like hormone levels, muscle mass, and bone density. That might affect athletes' performance, aiming to maintain a level playing field for all. And the last one I have here for you guys to all consider before I break you up into groups, the personal impact. Consider how it would feel to be told that you couldn't compete in your chosen category. The emotional impact of exclusion that can have a profound impact on the athlete's sense of, affecting the athlete's sense of identity, belonging, and mental health, right? So these are some things that could be in some of your answers. Probably you guys have a diverse set of answers, so sharing them is an awesome practice to do, which is what I'm going to have you do now. So share with your neighbor what you wrote down. If you're doing this in class, press that pause button. If you're doing this video, let's continue. Okay, next we're going to look at perspectives on gender athlete participation. There are many perspectives. I present to you 3 here just to kind of get the juices flowing in your brain. So gender identity based. Some advocate for policies allowing athletes to compete according to their gender identity. That means not their gender at birth, their gender identity. This approach prioritizes psychological well-being and recognizes gender as more than biological. Supporters point out to the studies showing that after hormone therapy, many physical advantages diminish over time. And if you watch the video in class with me about the artist, singer, and performer, you will see that physical features do in fact change with hormone therapy. Second perspective is separate categories, right? Creating distinct categories for transgender athletes representing a middle ground approach or maybe a compromise. This could provide competitive opportunities while addressing concerns about physical differences. Critics worry this might further marginalize transgender athletes. Could you imagine if you are in middle school and you are exploring your identity and you are forced to decide which team do I want to be in? Do I want to be in the basketball team for boys, girls, or maybe I don't fit those binaries and the other, or maybe I don't know where I want to go. I can definitely see where this might present a problem at different stages of life in different ways, right? The third one is a flexible rule system. It's like reimagining, right, sports categories entirely, perhaps based on physical characteristics rather than gender. Right? Maybe we might talk about certain hormone levels or certain bone and muscle densities or different metric that is a biological measure and break up into categories that way. It's probably the most challenging because we tend to get mindsets and difficult to change one, but definitely perspective out there. And I'm sure shared by many. So I'm going to have you guys consider that as we move into our next step, which is group work. We're going to move tables, right? This is what our tasks are going to be. Wait, don't do it now. Just listen. You're going to move. You're going to go to the table that has a poster with the number that's in front of the name of the character that I gave you. You're going to share your character's name and their perspective, not your own personal perspective. You are in character. You're role playing at this moment. And then you guys, as a group, will create one policy that you all agree on. Good luck. And finally, you will write a headline, like a newspaper headline, with a one statement that will catch a reader's attention as to the policy that you guys agreed on. Don't be surprised if you don't agree on the policy. So before I break you up and have you move, this is what you guys are going to consider. Some sports leagues allow transgender athletes to compete based on gender identity, while others require them to compete based on their sex assigned at birth. Your group must create a fair sports policy that balances inclusion and fair competition. I want you to pay attention to your own emotions as we do this, your interests or disinterests at any point, and if there's a point you want to respond with out of character, and how you check yourself with that. Just take note. You can use a little piece of paper that you started off with your writing. So here's what you're creating, and I'll leave this slide up as you guys break up into your groups, and then I'm going to switch it back to your text. So go ahead and split as groups. And if you are not in the classroom, this is what you will be discussing. And you can pause here if you need to. Well, you guys did great, and I'm ready to hear what you have to say. So share this breaking news headline with me and any issues your group had in your discussions and your character role, if there's a conflict between how you feel and how your character would have felt, or maybe you just didn't know what your character would have felt because it's totally shoes you're unfamiliar with. That in itself is important. So let's share. You pause here. If you're not in the classroom, let's go on. Okay, back to your seats. Now you get to leave your character side and become who you are, your values. But on your way back to your seat, you have your pen and paper with you. I want you to sign your name to any of the sheets on the tables that have headlines that you agree with. You're not limited to sign one, and I'm going to ask you to read all of them. So I'll give you time to get back to your seats in the class. You pause it here if you're in the classroom, or continue if you're not. All right. So, emotional reflection and learning. On the back of your character, right? This is you now, right? We're not the character anymore. I want you to write down before, during, and after. Write those 3 words down. Before, during, and after. And remember, I said earlier, pay attention, make note to how you're feeling. I want you to give me emotion for each one of those, at least one emotion, possibly 2, no more than 2. So it could be like I was confused, I was frustrated, I was upset, I was happy, I was hopeful, I was curious, I had empathy, I had understanding, like anything that you can put for each one of those states. So before you guys got in the break, when we first started this activity, and then when you're during is like when you're discussing with your group, and then after is at this point right now, after we've done it. So I'm going to give you some time to go ahead and write that down. You can pause if you're doing this in the classroom. And pass those papers to the end of your table where the posters are so I can collect them when you're done. I want you to think about the impact on participation. Right? Consider how your emotions affected your participation. Emotions were key if you haven't clued into that, right? Did strong feelings make you speak up more, or did they keep you quieter? Did you find yourself open to certain perspective or totally closed to what people were saying? Understanding this connection can improve your future decisions, right? The whole point of this study was that emotions can change our actions, our responses to any given situation that's happening to us at that particular time. Our moods matter. And then growth and